Okay, I've started the camera.
You're getting old, Churchill. Yeah. I've been to Coffee Waste for now.
All right, 5:45.
Probably.
Call the truth and taxation public hearing regarding the property tax levy to order. Madam Clerk, you take it away.
I will. Trustee Van.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Here.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst. Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Churchill.
Here.
Village President. Kinsey.
Present. And do we have anyone that would like to comment on the truth and taxation property tax levy this evening? Going once. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned. We will reconvene at 6. As you wish.
I'm gonna leave the camera running because
Like three
can't stop.
meetings to them.
I just said about hot.
We conducted 60 seconds.
That was the public hearing. Okay. They're going to vote on it in a few minutes. Okay.
Which one was supposed to happen? This has to do
I was like, sit down for a picture and right. And I said, I took that was one person I took it, and he bolted because he said, and that's all picture I got. So I was like, that's a yes. Yeah. Which was there?
Yes. Here's something that's
randomly, so I'm so glad Kira made her do that.
pretty much, I think she was
That's awesome.
he was a stranger things.
Oh, I don't know what I saw it. I was like, I wish I could make that.
Sounds cool. And then,
We're both sounding like
it's cool.
she was thinking less than she was.
Here I am.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Yeah, so have you ever, yeah, I could never see it. It's all about the best part of this. Whatever, like, they were like, that's one of the he's
And it's fun, it's awesome.
a
I was like, oh wow, so I'm used to it, but it's funny, so it's some new. 17 years.
My coworker just went to go see her doctor, and so what grade are you in now? And she's 35 years old. I said, you need to talk to her, you're old, she had no idea that you were 35. You know the struggle. I don't get that.
That's
So that's going to take a while. Trying to do it Well, remind me.
Need somebody to run my code.
I don't know for sure if they would be able to.
Did you two come and bring pictures of dog?
Me? Yeah.
Did you see it?
That's what I'm saying, you said that. He said, yeah, he said it's the impact.
I know.
Beth, I'm sorry. Oh, you can't get the train.
They said it's supposed to lighten up and then, by the morning, it's 35.
When we get out the tax.
I just went.
Well, always.
She is gonna be here, she said it might be 6 or a little after.
Here, I thought there, okay. Sorry. Making notes.
Tell us German 6.
Sure shows German.
So it's not Kinsey said he put a bone in your pocket.
I won't say anything.
Oh, I didn't have the.
Yeah, you probably have the Annie's account.
I hope Bella interviews well.
I told him, I said, that part of it is until 6:15.
Yeah.
So, at least.
Do you want to move that up?
Right. Move 5 and 4 up here.
To number 1 and 2.
Right there before.
Here, to Bella first and to 5 first.
Cheers.
I prefer to do the sexual harassment policy first.
For a second.
Social lawyer.
Yeah.
Down there, president.
Some music.
You haven't tried anything?
Probably should. I said no.
You ever think about standing for your camera?
So here, This is, these pictures are fibers.
Hopefully this is one.
Yeah, just saw that.
That's your
He's actually home put it together right now. My mother, my dad, okay, I just, it was like $50. I just wanted that in my house.
6 o'clock. All right, 6 o'clock, call the regular village board meeting to order. Now join me in a moment of silence, please. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Trustee Mann.
Present.
Trustee Kerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst. Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Churchill.
Present.
Village President Kinsey.
Present. Pat, can you hand me that? Amy, would you like to?
Yeah. This is for public comment. Members of the public may address the village board with comments at 2 different times during the meeting. The first public comment section is for comments on agenda topics only. The second public comment section is after the new business section, and this time allows the public to comment on any item relevant to village business. No citizens shall speak for more than 5 minutes without the presiding officer's, president, or chair consent. Members of the public who wish to address the board must sign in to speak for either of the 2 public comment periods prior to the commencement of the meeting. If time allows, the presiding officer may ask if anyone else would like to address the board after those who signed in.
Do we have any public announcements this evening? Russ isn't here. All right, public comments on the agenda, Mr. Greer.
Do we want to do these after the presentation stuff we did those things, or do we want to?
Those are in the committee
Okay, so what's this one now then?
board meeting.
Oh, that was 5:45.
That was a public hearing for the truth
For the-
taxation.
Oh, gotcha.
For the committee, Jeff?
Yeah, never mind.
For the committee. Is that where you'd like that to be? Okay. Any other additional public comment? Hearing none, can I have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mao has made a motion, second.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Fountain. Questions or discussions regarding the warrants or the minutes? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
No more business. Under new business, item 1, 2017 property tax levy. Have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by trustee Churchill, second by trustee Mao. This will be property tax levy, 2017 property tax levy. Earlier today, we held a public hearing regarding the property tax levy. The village is subject to a tax cap law, which means existing property may not see an increase of more than the rate of inflation applied for the 2017 levy. New construction and improvements to existing property are not figured into that tax cap, which means taxes on new housing and home improvements are assessed separately for the first year the property is capped. Therefore, the increase in the proposed levy of 14.84% is not an increase in individual tax rates, but rather an increase to the estimate of the total tax money to be collected because of new constructions and improvements to existing property occurring within the village. Any additional discussion regarding the levy? Who is it? Any additional public comments regarding the levy? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution abating the direct annual real estate tax in the amount of $353,473 for the year 2017 levy pursuant to ordinance 14-04. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Fountain, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Churchill. This is on the electric bonds. So it's abating the taxes that are levied. So the electric fund is estimated to have substantial money to be able to cover farm governments and the tax their. Additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerber?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Mel?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution in support of Illinois' bicentennial celebrations. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Churchill, second by trustee Mao. The resolution in support of Illinois' bicentennial celebrations, whereas August 26, 2018 will mark the 200th anniversary of the adoption of the Illinois Constitution of 1818 at the Kaskaskia Convention, and whereas December 3rd, 2018 will mark the 200th anniversary of the admission of Illinois to the Union as a state, and whereas the bicentennial of our statehood is an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the many cultural, economic, academic, and political contributions that Illinois and its residents have made to the nation and the world. And whereas commemorations and celebrations will enable and encourage Illinoisans of all ages and backgrounds, together with visitors, to experience Illinois' 1,298 cities, villages, and towns, thereby stimulating Illinois economy. Whereas our community recognizes the importance of the bicentennial celebration as a way to honor the citizens in the history of our great state and set a course for success over our next 200 years. And whereas our community, through its various councils, committees, organizations, and congregations, should work together with the Illinois Bicentennial Commission and the state's citizens, businesses, and cultural and educational institutions to share our vision and projects to mark the 200th anniversary. And whereas participation in Illinois' bicentennial celebration is a unique opportunity to honor and showcase the state during this historic time, now therefore be resolved that the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Chatham, Sangamon County, Illinois, endorses the efforts of the Illinois Bicentennial Commission in promoting, planning, and executing historic, educational, celebratory, and cultural initiatives, and further resolves to recognize and celebrate the bicentennial of the state of Illinois. Madam Clerk, would you take it?
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerber?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Mel?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, you also let the record reflect that trustee Lindhorst has it.
Yes, that's I know. Do we need to make a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
All right, we have public comments regarding general village business. Mr. Osborne?
My name is Steve Osborne. I recently ran for one of the village trustee positions. During my comments about the neighborhood, there were three issues that came up: water, streets, and drugs in schools. And on August the 8th, I presented a letter to the board here, and I'm here basically asking what progress or what has been done with those three issues: water, street improvements, and the drug issues in schools. And when I talk about the water, I won't use the word quality, okay? Because as long as EPA approves this water, it's EPA approved. Maybe I like it and I hate, but that's the issue. What I've asked for is an economic evaluation of the water. What is our cost of water going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years? It may be your most expensive utility. Now, the other thing is, I've also asked, there's a capacity problem with South Salem Water Commission. That's going to make some improvements to meet our needs, okay, in the future. They're talking about improvements and changes. I've seen those improvements go up to almost $6 to $8 million, some projections. Now, if we do a project like that out there, South Salem Water Commission all of a sudden becomes something we cannot afford to get rid of. Maybe at this particular point in time, we can. That's why I've asked for that evaluation. I also asked for the fact that any major improvements, not maintenance items, at South Salem Water Commission be halted until that evaluation is done. There were several issues in that letter. Streets, I think Mayor, are you gonna give us an update on streets tonight?
Yeah, either that or Jim Michael will. I know he's been working on it.
And then, has there been anything done with the drug issues in the schools? Those are the three main issues I got hit with, door to door. So, that's been my comments.
Thank you. Ms. Ethel?
My issues are basically with the water. I am now broken out with a huge rash. It's all over. I have it on my arms, my hands. I'd be more than willing to show it to you. I'm greased up like a pig. There is no change in anything that's been done to my house. Same detergent, same bath, same hair products, everything like that. This has started about 6 or 8 weeks ago. I've been to the doctor twice. They have no idea what it is. The only thing I can attribute to, I haven't been out of town, I haven't been out of the country, is the water. And it's, I don't know when you all are gonna wake up and realize what a disaster this water plant is. They don't have the money, number one, to fix anything. So where's that gonna come from? Where do you all think? Our water rates. One day my water smells like sewer, the next day it smells like chlorine. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And I know that there's 3 of you that are on the utility committee. A couple of meetings have been canceled. I'd like to know why, because we're interested in seeing what's going on. At the last plant, South Sangamon water plant thing, I went to their meeting. Mr. Bloom advised that they not sign any intergovernment agreement with you. Pat told them that nobody had seen it but the 3 of you, and I kind of think he threw you under the bus, because Dave and Pat wrote a letter to them, and none of you had seen it. Is that correct?
And that's kind of the point of why we have put that on hold, is we want to bring it to the whole and make sure everybody's on the same page. When he has his update tonight, we'll discuss that a little bit more, and that we're all in the same direction, because the 3 of us aren't just going to continue to meet. We need to make sure that actions are being done.
Well, they don't have the money. They don't have the money. Their bonds are rated just above junk. Just above junk. So they can't, if they do go out and borrow money, you know what kind of interest rates they're going to pay? 7.5% to 10.5%. Well, where is that going to come back to? Where's that going to come back on? Everybody's saving. Now, people can say, and I'm sure one of the reasons they don't want the intergovernmental agreement, so you can look into the books and see what happened, there's $3 million worth of pipe that's missing. Does anybody here know where that pipe went? Anybody? No. Let's see, where did it go? Did it go to Gray's house? Did it go to Dave's house? Did it go to Dale's house? Have they got nice grading pipe and the rest of it's got crap? You gotta do something. You got to do something about this water. We're losing citizens out of this town because of this water. People are coming in and saying, if we had known, we never would have bought them. You can tout the schools, you can tout the small community, all you want to. But we need good water, and we don't have it. I don't care if it passes EPA standards, but when there's corrosion, and I'm buying coffee pots every 2 years because of the gunk that's going in it, when I'm spending $60 to $100 a month on bottled water and jug water, and then I'm paying a god-awful amount for my water, plus the sewer, You gotta figure the sewer in there. Something has to be done. You can't keep your heads up your back ends anymore. You gotta realize this, and you gotta do something. You got to do something. Because people are getting sick, people are having rashes. You know, I had one on my arm. Now I have a big, huge brown spot right around it. I got it here on my thumbs. I have it on my thighs. I have it on my chest. Been to the doctor twice. Have no idea what it is. What it is.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Ms. Billy?
You can call me Bonnie, we know each other so well. Okay, we're gonna start this out with my sign, which I'm sure you guys appreciate. Okay, I looked this over, I've made some comments, but we're gonna let our engineers and our intelligent people read this. But I will follow through with a lot for you, sorry dear, but, you know, this is what the citizens need. Let's start my 5 minutes out with, we got a few new citizens that are not familiar with how the board reacts. I've had a couple whisper, aren't they gonna answer? No, it's comments only, correct? So I want the citizens to know what this board hears when we're up here trying to say something. This is exactly what they hear, and I want you to watch the faces of our leader, because I just asked somebody to do that, and he was like, wow, he looks like he wants to smack the lady. What they hear, no matter what you have to say up here, is blah, 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 blah. That's all you guys hear. There's never any response. You show no reaction to somebody that's devastated by rashes. You show no reaction whatsoever. President/Mayor Kimsey, I am so disappointed because you were the one that somebody just whispered to me, you look like you wanted to smack Becky upside the head when she mentioned her dirty old coffee pot again. Well, you know what? Becky thrives on that coffee pot. So briefly, looking at this, and I hope everybody gets a copy of this and reads it as a citizen, not as an engineer, not as a trustee, or the president/mayor, or the village manager. I want you to look at this. Because there's a lot of things that jumped out at me, and I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but when they sit there and say that it's Illinois Environmental Protection primary drinking water standards. Nope, I've been to the water plant. It's secondary. The rates I'm paying, I want top dog water, not secondary that the EPA has stated to us in the meeting. I'm sorry, Lee. Then the documents. I want documents. I don't want somebody to tell me that, you know, you're doing this, you've got the documents and everything. No, this is baloney. Give us the documents. Yeah, it says at the end that there are some on the website. Not all these documents are on the website. I don't trust the website, because you guys edit the website. We don't know what you're doing, okay? The one that jumps out at me the most is we believe folks, that this has resulted in improvement with the water quality and plan to continue flushing. Well, you can believe all you want, but I know what my water smells like. A lot of people do. So believing and knowing the facts are two different things, so quit ignoring us. I'm not standing here and spending Tuesday nights with you because it's a joy for me. I'd rather be at home sitting with my foot kicked up, the dog between me and hubby, and drinking a couple of beers. So don't blow smoke up my backside telling me you believe this is helping. You're not listening to the citizens because it's not. Talks about the complaints. Chatham's water operations staff, which I highly have a lot of respect for the water staff. Now, let's get this clear. The water staff that will come out to your house. The water staff that will come out there if you have a leak or help you find it. It's not these guys up here that want you to believe that everything's fine. They figure that water complaints by testing water in homes and flushing water mains in the area are helping with the complaints. How many complaints have there been? Because we've been hearing all along, you know, there hasn't been any more complaints. There's only a handful of us that are standing around here blowing smoke. We're all just a bunch of whiners.
There haven't been that much complaints, so why would you put in here that solves several complaints? It hasn't. The complaints are still there, but you guys are hearing blah, 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 blah. That's all you're hearing. Look at me like that, because seriously, that's all you're hearing. You want to move up to the big boys, move into the state, do it. But don't climb on the backs of your citizens that are suffering from this water. And not just the water, it's the cost of it. For God's sake, it's the cost of the water as well. Not just the quality. The quality, water's life. If you're not having problems living, I mean, it's not question and answer, I know that. But I'd really like to maybe, if there was a way, I could pour you water filter in your house, water filter in your house. Did you guys pay $5,000 or $6,000 for a water filter? Don't answer, because you're not supposed to right now. All you're supposed to do is hear blah, blah, blah. When my 5 minutes are up, don't whisper to, you can just give me like this. I'm used to you guys.
That's 5
Am I up?
Yes, sir.
I was just started on the blah.
Mr. Greer, committee still or? Yeah. Okay. All right, any additional comment on village business?
Can I have your 5 minutes? I'm not done blah.
Schedule of meetings, December 12th, which immediately follow this meeting is our committee of the whole. December 19th, the 88 Transition Plan Committee. December 21st, Planning Commission. December 26th, Village Board. January 8th, Public Properties and Recreation. January 8th, Utility Oversight Subcommittee at 7:30. January 9th, Village Board. All the other meetings are at 6, other than the Oversight Committee at 7:30. No executive session. No executive session, having no further business. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Mr. Murphy, you have
I'm sorry, I did steal that ball.
Roll call?
Yes. Trustee Mann?
Here. Call over.
What was that?
That's you. Call me.
I'm calling the meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Trustee Mann?
I'm still here.
Trustee Gerger?
Present.
Trustee Fountain? Trustee Lindhorst? Here. Trustee Mao?
Here.
Trustee Churchill?
Present. So have him come in and speak after that. Yeah, public comments on the agenda topics. I've got Mr. Greer.
I was saying, do you want to swap
No.
around?
Yeah, we have on village business after, but you've signed for both.
Right, but I didn't know if you wanted to move those, people are here for like development, if you want to do those.
Yeah, we'll move those up.
Okay.
All right. I need a motion to bring the consent agenda to the table.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Mann made motions, second by trustee Churchill. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Okay. Old business.
Sir, can you go out of the...
Yeah, we can just go right to the new business, and we'll go to the recognition award for Dr. Gary Mender and Officer James Richards. We good?
You gotta go get it.
Go get it.
And we'll go to sons of the resolution.
Well, that was just going to move this table back.
Onward. Yeah. Take your time.
Whenever I feel that way too sometimes.
Basically tonight, we're here for a couple different reasons. There's three different people I want to recognize first. One is Craig Knapp with Meyer Superstore in Springfield. He was gracious enough to donate 7 years worth of food to Bella. So that's definitely one person I want to recognize. He was very instrumental in taking care of Bella. The next award, we are a gracious community. We have 4 veterinary clinics here in the village of Chatham. Obviously, we have one that we want to recognize tonight, which is Dr. Gary Minder and Grace Veterinary Clinic with his staff. Dr. Minder's been very gracious over the last 7 years, taking care of Bella at no cost to the village. I did ask honestly, not enough words to express as far as how gracious we are for Dr. Minder, stepping up and taking this task on. I did ask his staff, I asked him, I said, well, about how much, did it cost to take care of Bella? And the cost was about over $9,000. So, it's definitely something to be recognized. I do have an award, a small appreciation plaque for Dr. Minder and his staff. We did treat Dr. Minder's staff last week to lunch on behalf of the Chatham Police Department, so we was able to get back a little bit for everything they've given to us, which is greatly appreciated. With no further ado, this plaque is given to Dr. Minder and his staff, to Grace Veterinary, Dr. Gary Minder. Thank you for your service, care, and commitment to the Chatham Police Department, K-9 program, and Bella from the years 2010 to 2017. The next award obviously is for Bella. She has been with our department. Yes, for you, sweetheart. Officer Richard's been very instrumental over the last 7 years to take care of Bella, to basically take care of her hand every day of the week. She's been a great asset for our department. She's been involved with numerous searches and numerous seizures as well. So Bella's been a great asset for our department. I am really sad to see her go. Unfortunately, like everybody else, we did get a little bit older. Bella's 7 years old, so I guess in human years, about 63. So I guess that puts her at retirement age. So she's been a great asset for our department. Obviously, Officer Richards has done a great job taking care of Bella. It's really greatly appreciated. Bella, after tonight, will remain with Officer Richards, so he will take care of her until the day, unfortunately, she passes. So, but it's a great day. It's for Bella and for Officer Richards. So, in recognition, it's a thank you to Officer James Richards and Bella for your service and dedication to the Chatham Police Department and the citizens of the village of Chatham. One thing I did leave out, Officer Richards also did numerous PR type of programs and worked numerous times with the schools over the past 7 years. So Bella's done a great job, and we will sadly miss her.
Next on the agenda, we'll go to the Sons of American Revolution Officer Recognition.
Hello, my name is Drew Robinson. I am the chapter president of the local Springfield chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. I brought along our state president, Toby Chamberlain, as well. Thank you to the board and chief for putting us on the agenda this evening. We want to recognize Officer Pierce for all of his work that he does on a local level, state and national level. I've heard that he has been part of a very important task force with Homeland Security that does a really important specialized work of keeping children safe. And as part of the Sons of the American Revolution at our national level, we are encouraged to give out an award for law enforcement that recognizes officers that go above and beyond. And we are here this evening, and I'd like to ask Officer Pierce and his wife Kimberly to come up if you would, please. Thank you very much for your service, and we appreciate that. I have a certificate I would like to present to you on the behalf of the Sons of the American Revolution. And I asked Kimberly to come up to be a very important part of this. We also have a medal. Okay. We would like to present to you. Sure. Are you allowed to put that on your uniform? I'd like you to take this, and if you would pin that on your uniform, please. Oh, it's not on the thing. That's why I'm not doing it.
We can do old business after. He'll be on the public comments for that, and then we'll do him after public comments. Next, we'll do the ITEP and ADA transition plan updates.
Basically put together the ITEP program, the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program application, submitted that last, or was it 2 Fridays? December 1st. 2 Fridays. Yeah, 2 Fridays, long week. We did end up submitting the application for just under a total of $750,000 to upgrade a number of sidewalks along some of our main routes that the ADA committee has looked at. Now we just have to wait. Hopefully we'll hear positive words sometime in the springtime. As far as the ADA, we do have a meeting next Tuesday. We sort of sat down, came up with the general outline of the document as far as the transition plan, and this coming Tuesday, we'll start working on the actual wording that goes within the document. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Next, CMT engineering update. Bill?
We've got two engineers here. We've got Bill for water and Jim for...
Jim, you want to go first? Or Bill? Yeah, okay, Bill, you already asked.
I've seen Bill, he's got many more years of experience. Couple of things on the roadway side, development side. The village has 3 commercial developments that are ongoing, Domino's Pizza, the HSHS site, and then the storage facilities on Mansion. All those are going along really well. We're going to wrap those up here in the next couple of months tops. Roadways, MFT program is wound down for the year. We've completed all the scheduled projects for that. We talked about that last month. Oak Brook Avenue, arguably probably one of the worst roadways in Chatham, and highly used. We got a good section of that completed and paved. We're looking to pick that up probably next year with next year's MFT program. Made some sidewalk improvements, some patching, and we'll close out the MFT program here after the winter maintenance items are completed and get a new program scheduled with the village and the board in terms of the priority of what we want to do next year. So kind of rolling into that, we've completed the pavement rating system and incorporated that into the village's GIS system. There's one more item that Pat and I discussed last week was getting the previous year's MFT programs into that program so we look at what MFT expenditures and what was done at certain points. Right now, where the model sits, or where the GIS model sits in terms of the pavement rating, all the roadways in their current state are in there right now. And moving forward, we're able to track and go backwards and pick some of the items, but moving forward, track what the history of the projects are, history of the roadway improvements, what they are, how they performed over the years. What the big shocker number, what we saw is, kind of what would it cost to fix all the roadways in Chatham if you had an unlimited amount of money? And really what it is it's not, it's a roadway rating system that's from a 10 to 1, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. So fixing all the roadways doesn't mean bringing them all up to 10, which is full reconstruction of everything. It's doing the best that you can with that roadway system. If there's just minor cracks, you're not going to do a full removal replacement. You're going to do crack sealing, you're going to do slurry seal, maybe small delays, that kind of stuff. But really looking at, the village as a whole, it's $28 million. This in terms of what the commitment would be if you wanted to bring all roadways today, right now, to the best possible level.
So what do you wait for?
So, yeah, but what this will help us do in terms of prioritizing the funds that are available, MFT or bonding money or other developer money, so forth, in terms of what's the best use of money moving forward. In the past, it's kind of been squeaky wheel gets the grease. My roadway's really bad. It's hasn't performed. Okay, let's fix that one. Well, some of those roadways may only serve 2 or 3 people, and it may be a $500,000 investment. Whereas doing a structural overlay or some sort of significant improvement on our main arterial routes through town may serve the general public in a much better capacity and keep those higher cost roadways up at those upper level in terms of ratings. But the theory behind it is basically, all your roadways start off at a 10, and as they degrade, they go to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Well, if you don't do anything with the 5s and the 6s, they're going to become 1s. There's not enough money to do everything for 1s to 10, so it's prioritizing the big ticket cost items, making sure those are accounted for first. It gives us a much better feeling for an unbiased selection of roadway improvements that benefits the village of Chatham as a whole, not just well, this cul-de-sac needs to be replaced. We're not arguing that it doesn't. It's just the priority is probably to the greater good as opposed to smaller locations. So we'll do a presentation at the next board meeting on that. I'll get some information out to you guys through Pat, and we can throw that up on the GIS system and kind of look at it. But really, it's neat, what we'll end up doing also is probably linking that to the village's website too, is one thing that we talked about as well. It provides a pretty neat heat graph, if you will, roadways that are in great shape are, the blue, roadways that are in poor shape are red, and it just kind of fades through there. So at a glance, you can see, what needs attention, what doesn't. Other significant item, tank painting improvements. We're completing those documents now. We'll have a bid set out for January to be able to move forward on that project. We coordinated with Dixon Engineering on some recommendations, safety recommendations, access points, and that. Coordinated with village staff on what their needs are, wants and wishes, and all those fall within the budgeted numbers that we had prepared. So now we're kind of down to some last minute items or some last decision items as tank color and logo, those kind of things to make a decision as we move forward. So looking at residential subdivisions, the Highlands is moving forward, doing water testing this week on that for disinfection and obtaining an operating permit. That project's near completion, total completion. Fox Electric's going in. Fox Creek, that is still a little bit in limbo. Working with the developers, engineers, and construction coordination staff on that to get our punch list items addressed. So that project will move forward. And then Glendale Estates 4, so the Rover Street, that gap connection. I have the final plan sitting on my desk right now and looking to issue approval on those tomorrow, so.
Cardinal Ridge is looking for approval on their next sewer connection for the 4 apartments.
Correct.
Back to the roads real quick. Do you have, and don't get into the weeds on this at all, do you have a chance to give an average number across the board?
Pretty much what you're looking at is, the average number is between a 5 and a 6. Is what we're looking at, and that's a rating of between, fair and good. Obviously we have some excellent roadways and we have some that are not so excellent, but, the breakout of it in terms of, for example, like our major roadways through town, HMA, hot mix asphalt roadways, 2.4% are excellent, 10, 9.5 are excellent as well as a 9. 5.8% of them are very good, 16% of them are good at a 7, 29% of them are 6, which is rated good, 23 and 11% are 4 and 5 rated fair, 3% are poor, and there's no very poor or failed roadways for the major ones. Likewise with the local roads and streets, the distribution is about the same. That's one thing that Pat and I had talked about, is our local roads worse than our major roads, and it's about the same breakout. So, but I'll get you guys a comprehensive summary that has some interesting facts on it.
Hey, Jim, should I assume that as you did your cost of $28 million, you looked at it using the exact same type of treatment that's on there now? So, you treat it as an oil and chip.
That is correct.
In the future, okay.
And one of the things that we did, not only did we provide in the database a pavement rating, but we identified what the major and minor defects are of the roadway, which then allowed for us to select a proper treatment to fix those. So at any point, we can look and figure out which roadway needs what at a glance, and it's more of a generalization because every roadway, once you get into the weeds with it, you may want to do something slightly different, but it gives a good estimate of, what kind of numbers are we really looking at, so.
When you did the roadway rating, did you bridge rating too at the same time, our roads that have bridges?
No.
Or have you done, okay.
No, that's a completely separate process.
Because I know, and I'm hoping our bridges are not like many of the state bridges, which is not good, so.
I'm not seeing that in the village.
And Matt, I believe, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe 7 counties still inspects our bridges on particularly a 2-year cycle. So.
Okay. Turn it over to Bill.
Thank you.
Well, you all have copies of the report, the update that we put together, and I would encourage you to respond to any of the points on that through the website, would probably be the easiest. Refer to the item number and just put it right on your questions, and we will try to turn around a response to that. I think to go through the whole thing, I obviously would be pretty cumbersome. Suffice it to say that we are working toward the, better water quality to reduce the corrosion by the chemical changes that we've done, the phosphate increase. I think the change to chloramines from the free chlorine will take care of the taste and odor, and you reported the sewer smell in your water as well, which, again, that points to lack of oxygen, lack of chlorination in some parts of the house. But the chloramine is a more lasting chlorine residual, and should take care of that as well. So I think the chemical changes that have been made are going in the right direction, and we'll continue to communicate with the South Sangamon Water Commission to try to keep moving, even raising the phosphate more if we need to. I talked about changing the pH of the water slightly, which is what a lot of water systems that practice ion exchange softening, which you have, Morton, Normal, Illinois. There are a lot of communities that have the same or similar treatment process to South Sangamon, and we work with them as well, and phosphate is one of the tools that we have to reduce the corrosion, in addition to the pH change and raising the pH. And they all have chloramines in their system, not free chlorine as well. So those are just a few of the things that we'll continue to strive with the Water Commission to improve. Any particular questions?
They haven't started the chloramines yet.
That's correct. It's still the system's being designed. The ammonia chemical is a different chemical than was originally designed with the plant, and that design will be completed hopefully in the next few months, and then they go out to bid for a contractor, and then you have the construction work. And as you heard at the board meeting at South Sangamon, the last Tuesday we were there, I encouraged them to step that process to try to get that before summer. Any other questions?
Bill, I have one. I drink and use and shower and daily in the water, and I drink it every day. I haven't had any issues. The question I do have is Becky said she had rashes on her arms and things. What can you contribute? I know this issue's been talked about, but obviously it doesn't seem like we found the answer, so I'm going to ask you, because I'm not an engineer, what is the best way to do a distribution inside Chatham evaluation of our pipes? If it is, because at my house, I don't get rashes from the water. At her house, she gets rashes, don't know if it's from the water or not, but it could be. So how do we, what is the best way to do that, I guess?
Well, as I told her at the last South Sangamon meeting, that really comes to the medical side of things, and we don't get involved in, if the whole town had it, or, it was an outbreak and the CDC came in or something, I might say, maybe it is the water, but if for an individual or a couple individuals, we just have to go to the medical community and say, you just have to work with your doctor and continue to find out what's going on, because we can't, the water is nothing unusual in the water. The chlorination is about what we've been for quite a while, about what other communities are. And, there's nothing in the water that points to that for me, but that's not something that is kind of
Well, as far as I know, to date, we have had no medical professionals, doctors say it has caused any rashes or illnesses or...
That's not he's here to do. That's not what Bill's here to do.
No, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Bill.
Well, anyway, so the piping system's been flushed out, and we've done, we think the Chatham distribution system, water towers are being recoated in the next year, and so I think the pipes in the system are in good shape. I don't think there's any additional issues with that changes the water quality once it leaves the plant, other than the chlorine does drop off a little bit, and the water quality. And all the way out to New Berlin, we don't hear much from New Berlin, so I don't think there's a problem in the distribution system, so. Bill.
Any other questions for me? Yes.
Do you know if they ever get a calibration of their chemical injection pumps? Did they ever do a calibration of their chemical injection pumps? Because I've never seen that done. Never saw the results from it.
I don't know, I've been in their sandbox just enough to get them moving and make them think, but I have not looked out all the way. Maybe once you calibrate your pumps, but the residual chemicals like the chlorine, the fluoride, and the phosphate is a good measure that the pumps must be calibrated okay to feed those chemicals, because that's the end result, is what is the concentration in the water. So I'm sure that there are calibrations that are done routinely, and I don't know exactly, how often they do it.
Some of these chemicals they're putting in, they need a retention time also. And one of my theories is that retention time is happening in our tower, our two tanks, our tower and the tank. And that's where a lot of the precipitation is coming out for all the iron and manganese. And I don't think they're holding the water long enough out there.
Well, they do, but they do, the membranes are stressed, but there is a proposal out there to start replacing membranes slowly as it becomes, if they can afford to do it. And, but I have not seen elevated manganese or iron in the water. The chlorine residual seem normal, the fluoride seems normal, the phosphate seems to be within acceptable levels. And they're checking all that, and the village of Chatham is also checking the chlorine and the phosphate. So we're keeping an eye on it as best we can. But I will, next time I'm at the plant, I will ask that question about pump chlorine. Bill, throwing costs aside for a minute, I know it's hard to do because I pay for it too, but in your opinion as a water engineer, if we added the green sand filtration system to the process, what do you believe that would do to the current water that we have now?
Matt, I don't think you can put Bill in that situation to do what-if scenarios on engineering design on that plant right now.
No,
I think that puts him in a tough spot. Right now, the South Sangamon has an engineer. They're looking at different options. We've got Bill to turn around and look over their shoulder after the fact. I don't think we should put him on the spot in a meeting to say what this is gonna do and what that's gonna do.
So I pose that question to the South Sangamon Water Commission at their next meeting then, or?
I think it wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Or the commissioners here, you can ask him to ask that question of their engineer.
Would you ask that question for me, Lee, or I can come to the next meeting? I'm just curious what, I know I've talked with different ones out there.
Could you go over that one more time?
Just what would...
The green sand filter, what that would do, I know the cost is immense to add that, but what would it do to the finished water product? Because I do know that's, what we have in there is now more of a finishing filter instead of the green sand filter, which is more designed to get the heavier stuff out.
So, I'll ask that.
Bill, I have one question for you. We're making changes. You're saying most of the changes have been made as far as the chemicals, yes or no? That you have suggested to Southside?
Yes, except for the cost to raise the pH, that has not been done.
So
And
what...
for me, has not been done either.
Okay, so what is the purpose of continued flushing?
To ensure that the distribution pipes are cleaned out. Every system does that. Springfield does it, every town. You have water mains that have, less flow, more flow, and if you have less flow, and there are iron deposits and that type of thing, they need to be flushed out occasionally. There are dead-end mains, for instance, where the mains have to be sized for fire protection, kind of big. And if you live on a street with a dead-end main, that main probably doesn't get the turnover it should have. So just like, anything in your refrigerator, turning it over, you need it. You get rid of it, and that's flushing, that's how that does that, so.
I don't get rid of my beer, honey, that's the only thing in there right now.
Well, there's a thing.
But as a combination with that being said, are you suggesting by discussing the chemical changes that are going on now and the chemical changes that will be going on in the future, how often, as an engineer, are you suggesting that the village flush these lines? And are we talking all the lines in the village, or certain lines that we've seen an issue in?
Well, after this initial flushing, turned up quite a bit of discolored water and solids in the water. It's proposed that we do a third every year for the next 3 years, and then see if this initial flushing did most of the work, or if it still work still needs to be done.
So the answer is a third every year. And then again, there's an as-needed basis. If you live on a dead-end water main and you're reporting that your water spills in a sewer or something like that, which can happen if the chlorine goes away and there's a oxygen goes down, then the sulfate goes to sulfide and you smell rotten eggs. So there's localized things that can be done, but basically, I think it's a good plan to do 1/3 from here on out each year, and we'll see what it turns out.
But it could happen, the flushing could happen more often once we get done with all the chemical changes? Or are you actually, I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot, but you are the expert in this. Once all these chemical changes kick in, and we are doing it every third or whatever, you know, the town is flushing all these lines, if adding or changing the chemicals, will that add to the flushing schedule?
No, it should not. The flushing, if there's a problem down the road, and it's coming from the plant, then it's a membrane problem, softener problem. And so some maintenance and/or improvements to the plant will take care of, future deposits that might lodge in the main. So that will be more of an equipment issue at the plant rather than chemical. The chemicals shouldn't make too much difference to what the flushing has gotten out of the mains at this point. The closed valves and the problem areas, I think, have been largely taken care of, so.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
I got a question. So if you have a citizen here now that has a 1-year-old house, just bought it in the subdivision, and they're already experiencing corrosion, what would you say that, you tell them that it's a plumbing issue?
It's corroding, but I've made the statement before that water is corrosive. All water is to a different degree, depending on how it's treated. Rainwater, Lake Springfield water, groundwater from the South Sangamon Valley, and how it's treated has different pHs and different chemical constituents. And so the degree of corrosivity of this water is slow, hopefully it can be changed by these chemical change improvements. We can only do so much, and I don't know what's corroding exactly in the house. I live in Springfield, I replaced my water heater after 15 years, so.
Well, this is 1 year.
Mine was six.
I'm just saying, it's not 30 years, it only went 15, and so even the best treated water, or the lime softened water, which we think is the least corrosive, is still pretty corrosive. So faucets and things like that have to be changed. I don't know if that's a specific, if you want to let Pat know where that house is and what's going on, and you can talk to the plumber, or find out exactly what is going on with that, I'd be very interested to know, so let us know. I would like to,
One of the things that Dustin and them have run into on corrosiveness is 2 different types of metals coming together, like say for instance, the hose for a washing machine, where the chemical or the metal for that is different than the metal it's not copper to copper, and then with the hot water going through it, it draws corrosiveness or calcium buildup or something to that area. It looks like the thing is
again, I would put this question on the website and say, I have a faucet or whatever was wrong, and here's how it's corroding, and let us know what it is and where it is, and we'll see if something can be done. We can't use the whole system for one faucet, but he's got certain.
Well, I think it's only been one person that's had issues with corrosive water. I mean, I don't think you need to say, hey, you need to work with our plumber and tell them what they need to do on the house. I think it's been, a lot more people have reported issues than just one person. You need to work on them individually. So I think at some point it's, what do we need to do to get back to CWLP water? What does it cost to get there? As in comparisons, what would you say that, if you had to assign a percent to this compared to what we had with CWLP, what would you say the quality of this water is, in range maybe even, compared to what we had before? Because that's what we were told we were going to get. So if you had to say, ballpark, I won't hold you to like a statistical thing, but if you had to say quality, what would you say in comparison to what we had before?
Well, as I said, all ours are corrosive. There are corrosive indices we use, and one of them, or a couple of them do show that spring water is slightly less corrosive than the water you have now. This water maybe is a little more corrosive based on that index. And so if you look at that, well, okay, it's more corrosive, but it's still, it shouldn't be the point where a 1-year-old plumbing fixture of any kind is corroding and not usable or whatever happens to that. So I can't, the bigger picture of getting back to Springfield water and all that is again a bigger issue. So I would encourage you or any of these people to put it on the website where the questions are, just say, I live at so-and-so, and here's exactly what's happened to my faucet, here's how old it is, and it's just unusual, and, filter in my house, do I have, any other issues in my home? Like Pat mentioned, two different levels where, something's hooked up to a water faucet, you need to have a dielectric junction in there, like a water, so that the small current does not go from the copper into the brass, and you have like a plastic fitting or something like that, so there are ways to properly plumb some of these things, that maybe that's the problem, it's hard to tell.
I do want to just touch on, we really do have to communicate that. I know a lot of people are saying there's nothing you set up here and done, but I think one of the best things that we have done is hired CMT, and that includes Bill, obviously, with the water expert. That was a big decision, and for us to sit up there and not acknowledge that as a community is a shame for all of us, because he has done a great job. And I would challenge any of you to go to Springfield and ask what they think of Bill Brown, and if we have the right person, and you're not going to, I can almost guarantee, one of the water experts there say you don't have the right person.
Okay, well, yeah. Just put your questions on the website. I believe that's there, nobody's using it, and that's fine to come here and say, like, this is this problem, but put the specific problem on the website, and, Dustin Johnson can come out and he'll look at it and say, he can give me a phone call, I'll give him my opinion on whether or not there's a corrosion problem due to A, B, or C problem, issues, so, use the website.
Bill, another question I have is, if these chemical changes are made, will that get us closer to where we were with Springfield?
Yes, the phosphate will do the coating. Springfield doesn't even have to feed the phosphate because the lime softened water is kind of like a coating by itself with by virtue of its higher pH and its scale forming tendency. So the phosphate will help. I think the caustic feed that gets the pH up a little bit, I think that will also help. We're trying to do things one step at a time to make sure that we know which chemical feed work best. So I think, down the road, we'll get closer. Will we ever get there? I don't know that I can answer that, but.
When are we looking at chloramines? Do you know?
Chloramines, the date?
Yeah.
Well, he said, second quarter of 2018 in the meeting, and I was trying to push its MECO engineers out of Pittsfield and Hannibal, Missouri, it's their engineer, and I, again, try to get him to get that done before summer so that we don't switch over midsummer where we've got a high volume problem while we're trying to flush the mains out to move the new chemical through, so.
Can you see if we can get that?
I've already requested a detailed schedule. I believe at the next meeting next week. I've yet to hear back from the other trustees or the other commissioners, but we'd like to try to see if they can push that schedule up another 30 days to more coincide with the painting and the installation of the altitude valve so that those two occur simultaneously. And so when we bring the new tank, the newly painted tank, and the altitude valve back online, we can have just one push through the system and get everything switched over. So
this is kind of where last one or two utility meetings been canceled. We've came to that point where we have asked and requested for things to be done, and one of those was the intergovernmental agreement. And I realize there's another piece of paper that says that, and you decided, hey, we don't need this and it was supposed to come back to us, and we were supposed to really kind of dive into that and then bring it to committee, and then bring it to the water group. And I understand there is a document, and it's been there. But I can promise you, and that's why I didn't want to be this aggressive. On March 29th, our attorneys asked for us to see financials. We were not able to get them. I followed up on April 5th, and then with an email, and I have all of that. And Jeff followed up with them. I followed up on April 11th, and at that point, I knew we were getting new trustees in. We went to the utility, and we tried to move forward with it this way. So there is a political side to being able to get these decisions done that we are trying to say. So I understand there is a thing in the water that says that, but it's not being followed. So my thing is, if as a board, if we don't want to push forward and say, hey, these things have to be done, and sign into some form of intergovernmental agreement to really reinforce that statement that's already in there, I'm not going to meet anymore for utility. Because it's becoming a point where our board needs to say, yes, this is important, because I know when people have had things they wanted done up here, they've gotten them done. So this intergovernmental agreement, I want everybody on this board to say, yes, We have to make a statement as a board that we want things done, we're requesting them, because we are 90% of the service industry. And that we hope that you will follow up with those and do what we want, because it's at that point where it's like, yes, thank God we have Bill, because he is overlooking, and we're getting there slowly, but we need to get there faster, we need to be that, our voice is stronger than what it is, because it's not as strong right now. And I believe we could get there a little bit faster and getting simple stuff done as steps. So that's just my 2 cents.
Was there ever a response from the letter that Pat and Dave sent?
Well, can I finish this with these guys? That's okay.
That's my say, I agree with you on Bill. Working for the city of Springfield, his name is up there. It's high on the ranks. And I do feel that at times you are put on the spot to give us answers that you cannot give us. You know, so I appreciate the fact that you are graceful enough to stand up there and look at Bonnie going blah, 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 and not roll your eyeballs at me. But you do have a lot of respect in the community and around, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you, so we can get water that makes everyone happy again.
I'll be the first one dancing the streets with you if it happens, okay?
So I guess, again, back to the board, is, I need to know, I mean, I don't think we meet unless we're all on board on doing more or something like that. Or thoughts, or?
I mean, if we requested financials, do we know why they weren't provided?
Requested 3 times.
Why don't you send those requests to me?
You were copied on 2 of them, I mean, that was in April. Yeah. I mean, we couldn't get them at that point. I know, that's why we went into the intergovernmental agreement, is to say, hey, we need a stronger statement. And then it was kind of like, well, it's already been there. Well, okay, I know if it's already been there, why wasn't that brought up at that time? You know what I mean, we forced it more. So we're not forcing things that we need to.
If I could just make a suggestion, one possible approach is to see if Pat can get them. We could put this on the next agenda, whether it's the next committee of the whole. I don't know if that intergovernmental agreement's been kind of shared with the entire board yet. We could also put that on here.
Well, it looked like the old governmental agreement allowed us to see them.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
But this agreement was going a few steps forward in terms of how that would play out. So we could have a discussion at the next meeting as to whether or not we want to try to move forward with that, whether we've had success in the interim in getting them under the existing agreement, what kind of more of a status update. I just throw that out there as one possibility to move forward.
Well, that's the thing, it's like there's one bump, and that's what was the point of the intergovernmental agreement, to say, hey, we're making a stronger statement that we want more information, and then all of a sudden this is brought back up. Well, we know that it existed, but it wasn't being followed through, so now we were trying to say, hey, let's make a strong statement, but if we're gonna get pushback at this point from half the board, then why are we meeting as a utility board?
I guess, question I've got, first, Jeff, with the current intergovernmental agreement, do we have any recourse other than going to the courts?
Yes, in the original agreement, you know, it says it's an exchange of information where you look at their books. And if they don't, if there is a discrepancy, we can then get an arbitrator to settle that. And, you know, so I think if we, by the next meeting, if there's a request for information that trustee Ellenhorst has asked for, ask PAC to work with them and get that information. If they're not sharing it, then we need to seek an arbitrator. And that's what's in the original agreement. My question with the intergovernmental agreement is what would it add to that we already have? And my concern is that we've had our water engineer and our commissioner on the board making these recommendations with a population being served, their customer base is 90%. I don't know if that's exact, but it's like, you know, take us seriously. I mean, this is a strong need on these customers, and we want the full weight of these 2 representatives taken seriously. So what gets that message across on this 3-member commission when we're just 1/3, but yet 90%? That's what I want to make sure. However that comes across, that's what I want to make sure that comes across. Because if it's not, then we seek the arbitrator or whatever recourse we need to.
And the intergovernment agreement was a friendlier term going back to this, but then I hear half people ring, well, it's already been there. Well, then why don't we do something back then? So,
Well, and I guess the question I would have, with a new interagency agreement, both parties have to sign it to make it effective, and Lee is one of three, as far as commissioners.
Yeah, he can't.
So, him alone cannot force them to sign that if the other two commissioners say no. So to me, if we don't get the cooperation, we use the current one. I have no problems with going with something stronger, if that's where it goes. I don't know if it would go. But if it requires us to go arbitration, then I guess that's where we go eventually.
You want to look at financials, right? Do you get copies of all the financials?
Well, and how?
And then every month, can you?
No, we'd ask for bank statements, is what we'd ask for. Remember during that time to prepare?
Bank statements, is that deposits and
That was we were asking for, the bank
do you
statement.
get copies of that stuff?
Not the bank statements, but we do get
Can you request them?
I could.
I don't know why you couldn't.
We did, yeah, I mean,
So if he starts requesting that, you're part of his packet of stuff.
I don't see any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you've requested, and I don't,
but I don't think, I mean, it says even from our parties, like it's as, us as, you wouldn't even have to request it. It should be coming from us and they should give it to us, but.
but if you're not getting it, I don't know that you're not getting it.
But see, that's why I was saying we need something in the intergovernment agreement to say, oh, they do want to work with us, because that's what they've been saying.
Communication.
How much more, 3 emails to their attorney?
I don't think we need to go through the attorney.
Well, I think one of the problems with this whole communication, this whole intergovernmental agreement is there's been, what's the best way to put it? Hostility in a sense for some time, and I think, and I think on our part too, we need to show, hey, we're willing to work together, we're in this boat together. You guys are making our water, we're buying your water, let's work together to make it, let's not say, well, we're gonna send your attorney a letter, or get an arbitrator, do this. Let's say, hey, what do we need to do to work together to get what we're after, and get what you guys are after, and make the whole situation good? I mean,
What they're after is more money from us, man.
thank you, Rick. But, we just need to work together, and it will work. The communication.
Chad has done attempted I think
And I haven't said he hasn't. I'm just saying work together instead of doing it hostility wise and saying, we're gonna get an arbitrator, we're gonna send this to your attorney, we're gonna do blank, blank, blank.
You guys give me a list of things that you'd like to see, and then we'll incorporate that into Lee's reports. So he'll request that from them, he'll give you the monthly report, we'll see all that stuff.
Well, and then how do we stop the fact that these 4 meetings should have been in, we've been requesting it for 8 months? I mean, that's, a strong.
That's a topic I would like to not get into this evening.
Let's start a blank page and go into it, getting the information now instead of crying, we didn't get it 8 months ago, but that we get it tomorrow or we get it next month. Instead of yelling and screaming, we didn't get it 8 months ago, but let's start getting it and moving forward. Right now, it sounds like we're yelling, we didn't get it 8 months ago, and that's what we need to focus on, is getting it, not crying that we didn't get it 8 months ago.
Nina, I think Matt's mad at you.
He has been for a while.
He has. Oh, wow. This is better than a soap opera.
We got Lee here, he's got a few comments.
I also want to think that we should be getting a full copy of all of the previous meeting minutes and ordinances and everything that, from the attorney out there, Myers, that says this is the complete list, because we've forwarded ones before, and they keep appearing on the website, oh, we forgot these 12, this one. We should have a complete list, have them sign it, and say, these are all the meeting minutes, this is all the ordinances, this is all the resolution, I say this is the complete list, because we'll say something, and suddenly another month will pop up on their website, oh yeah, we forgot about this, we'll fill in some details. We need to have a complete and accurate list of historical ones. There shouldn't be ones in his archive that he maintains, which is bad enough anyway, that he maintains them, our previous attorney, who's no longer affiliated with the water plant, while he maintains a copy of our original ones. That should be at the plant, we should be able to have copies of those ordinances, and all our resolutions and all that stuff should be there on their website or available, and not in him and just say, well, let's go check with him. That should be this kind of document flow that should be there. It should be available to us by now. 5.5 years after plant goes live, we should have an information, we should have a final copy of all the original, all that stuff. It shouldn't just be, oh yeah, we forgot about that meeting, oh, we forgot about that meeting, let me get that document, let me talk to Attorney Myers. He's not the main guy out there anymore. So he's not our representative out there anymore. He's not our attorney that works out there. So,
Well, here's where I think we go, is we bring in the topics, we bring them back to the committee, make sure everybody's on board, because I feel like we got to a point where we were just meeting, we were getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, nope. I don't want to do that, you know what I mean? Let's,
So who's gonna head that up?
oh yeah, thank you.
So,
We'll get the request to Pat, and then Pat can produce them for the committee.
We can talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And if they really don't want me to do it, they could just buy my house. I'm just kidding, that's a joke.
All right, Lee, did you have some things for us? Thank you for coming.
Like I said earlier, I did request a detailed schedule to be presented to us prior to the next Water Commission meeting, which is next Tuesday. I'd like to get that detailed level and then try to maybe push for an extra 30-day ahead of time, because that is pushing it past what we anticipate the construction for, painting the new tank and putting the new altitude valve in. So we really want to try to get those two items completed coincidentally. To address the gentleman in the back with regards to the water quality, the iron manganese, the effluent concentrations are tested on a regular basis, and they are pulling the iron manganese out. They're well below the primary levels, and they are also well below the secondary levels, so those are being pulled out.
My filter stays at 100, but anyway, and that's their testing. And what is the next meeting?
Tuesday.
What time?
It's 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock still?
Yeah.
Okay.
With regard to the rash, we brought this up at the last meeting as well. There have been no changes to the treatment process, no changes to the chemical additions, so from a treatment plant standpoint, we have not seen any changes in the water quality at the plant. MECO continues to evaluate plant capacity, looking for that choke point within the system, as well as look at future treatment options for moving forward, making sure that we're not going to spend money that we don't need to, or put something in that is going to have to get torn out for a new process in the future. The chloramine issue is kind of the forefront, so they're going to focus on that while still trying to push forward on the future treatment evaluation. And that includes looking at the membranes, looking at other potential primary treatment type devices such as the filters, things like that. They did mention we may be looking at replacing a portion of the membranes just through general maintenance, replace a portion of the worst ones just to maintain good log removal. Regarding flushing, if we do switch over to chloramines, we will need to do a system-wide flush initially just to get that free chlorinated water out of the system and get that chloraminated water into the system. Make sure there's not a mixing of those two that would result in a zero chlorine option. So that's all I had.
When you mentioned choke points, what were you referring to?
If you increase the plant capacity through the filtration side, but that's not your weak point, your wells, things like that. So we'd be evaluating the raw water source, raw water transmission main from the wells up to the plant, and then the rest of the treatment train itself.
So they're doing a complete evaluation?
Yes, that's correct.
From well field through pass off to distribution?
That's correct.
Making sure that when capacity is needed, it's going to be there from point A to point B?
That's correct.
Any other questions for Lee?
Does the village got enough money saved up for a major flush if we need it? Our $2,
To 1/3.
Well, plus, a good portion of that was setting up the model and running through it, and basically village staff went out with Simity, so they are now trained in what to look for as they do flushing, and then that model is added to as, new subdivisions come in or there's changes to the system.
So our village employees were trained to be able to flush lines. with that $500,000 Vector truck, I hope. You just like that thing, good. I want it to be used.
All right, thank you, Lee.
Thanks.
See, Lee, thank you for not picking on you.
Next, zoning board.
I know.
You want to do,
Yeah, we can,
change your,
this will be one of the public comments on real estate.
one of the public comments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shamshir. I'm the one of the owner of the BP station and the liquor store. And we are very grateful to the Chatham village and the community that you guys have given us the very good support. And we are here almost like 8 years, and we are looking to expand our business a little bit more. And we have some thoughts about putting a video gaming parlor next to our liquor store. We have like a 10 feet land that's the post office is encroaching in, and we are looking to put a 10-foot building all the way on the side and put a separate video gaming parlor. And in order to do that, I think we need like a bar license or a license that if we can get your support, and that will bring some more income to the town, and also it will support our business too. We will greatly appreciate that.
Their gas station is not allowed to have, and their liquor store is not allowed to have. But he does have space to be able to add on to the building, for the liquor. You'd have a separate entrance for it. So it would be a separate establishment. But it would essentially be setting up for gaming, and he's required to sell alcohol. Told him he needed to meet all the ADA, meet all the ADA requirements, meet the specifications for bathrooms and everything else. And he's talked to Ryan. It looks like we can get over all those hurdles. But I told him he needed to talk to you guys because you need to create another liquor license for the president to issue. So before we went through the process, he's already passed the background check twice because he has alcohol in his gas station and alcohol in his liquor store. So there's not a problem there. He's not adding any other partners. It's strictly be the same as what he has now.
Will that still stay in the, so many, like the 30% has to come from the revenue, has to come from?
Video gaming parlor, that's a requirement, I think also you have to, the state don't require any special requirement for the sales, and they all just look for if there is a poureur's license, if the player, sometimes you're looking to buy a cup of beer or something, that all you have to provide for that, I think.
No, I'm sure.
Don't we have a requirement?
We have a requirement.
Yeah, I have difficulty seeing how just the 10-foot building would fit in our ordinance requirements where there's additional, beyond what the state says, there's additional requirements to provide or sell at least enough in other sales, so food and beverage to represent a substantial portion of the business. Because our ordinances that are written don't allow for just the gaming parlor like you're describing, where we would see like, just the small little room with the 5 seats in it, and one person standing there, somebody would want to drink. Our ordinances don't allow for that.
Yeah, we have a 50 feet deep building, so that will be like a 10 feet on, all the way to the back, so it will be 10 by 50 building. It's not going to be very small either, so.
So he would have to sell some kind of food product or something like that.
Yeah, do you want to walk me through that ordinance?
Yeah, you walk me through that ordinance, because it is, it's the same as, like the plazas owned by Sort Corporation, but they had a smaller portion that's owned as a wine bar, but they're also serving food and alcohol as well, but they own the whole plaza, but it's only that section, so it's kind of set up that same way.
Probably just come back to
That's tobacco shop, they serve the food there too?
They do, they have sandwiches, and they're required to show their receipts to make sure they meet that requirement. If they don't meet that requirement, then we have the right to pull that license.
That's it'd be the other, but talk to Pat, I could work through that ordinance, and you could see where the other requirements that come in that are on our books here that kind of regulate what.
Okay, if that fits or something with that, if there's any opportunity, then we'll definitely look into it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
My husband loves your shop.
Next is the zoning board of appeals public hearing and recommendation for CUSD number 5 scoreboard height variance.
The zoning board of appeals met on November 28th to have a hearing on whether they would give a variance to the school district for maximum height on a sign that will end up being a kind of a scoreboard type thing. The vote went 4-2 in favor. There's a large packet of information on there. I have this too, if anyone wants to look at it. There's a picture of what the scoreboard would look like from the field side as well as from the street side.
They still have to raise money for it. Correct.
They do.
Please put it up.
But what they wanted to do is they can put that sign up at the very top of the mountain and put it 25 feet up in the air from the bottom where the ground is at the top of the mountain. They didn't really want to do that because then they have to run steel piers all the way down through the mound to good solid dirt. That was going to add a lot more cost to the sign. They would like to move the sign farther down the hill, but still be able to have it up at a decent height. Okay, so you're still going to have it lower than if they decided to put it on top, but they needed variance because they didn't want any of the kids that usually are out there on the hill running and jumping and hitting the bottom of the sign.
So, we're just trying to say, it looks like this, if they put it down at the bottom, so this is from Plummer, it would look like that over the top of the berm. To get that look, they have to get a variance. If they go up to the top of the hill and start from the top of the hill where the ground is, what is that? They could have gone 25 feet, and it could have been all the way up here, without a variance.
Okay. So I guess, what is it in our code that's restricting them from doing that? Is it just because it's on a hill and the...
From the ground to the top of the sign can't be higher than 25 feet unless you ask for variance.
Now, one of the other issues I see with this variance, I did talk to Ryan this morning about it, and he indicated that neither petitioner was going to be here tonight. I had hoped they would be. The other issue is the school is zoned as R1, I'm assuming under special use. With the back of the scoreboard, they're planning on doing advertisement, which is not allowed in R1, which to me would be potentially another variance that they would need to look at. And, you know, reading what was put together by Chairman Vaughn, it basically indicated that the purpose of making that sign that height was so that that advertisement could be seen from Plummer. So, you know, I don't see us wanting to approve this height variance until we get this other issue possibly taken care of. You know, unless they go, no, we're not going to deal with the advertisement on the back side.
I think they need the advertising on the back.
In order to build it, or divide it.
Well, and I would agree, but at the same time, it's a violation of the code.
So, yeah, I would say before we'd want that addressed as well, if we could.
What addressed again?
The advertising, the variance for that, for the backside.
What's our code for the advertising? That's what he's saying.
They all on the special use.
Oh, because, okay, I got you.
I don't think we've looked at that issue, we can look at that and verify.
Yeah. You can't verify that it can be there or it can't be there, to tell you the truth.
But could we write the approval so that it states it specifically?
But so I guess we could approach this a couple different ways. If there's no issue with the advertising, is the board okay with this coming back for approval, ordinance consideration at the next meeting?
Yes.
And if there is an issue, they need a variance or some sort of special use with regard to the advertising, then it sounds like the board would like that to be addressed at the same time, and then it all come back together as one.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So, and here's the other question, Joe, because they describe all this in their variance request. Panel using normal add panels on screens on the backside of the building.
But the variance that they were requesting was strictly the height.
Yeah, so if it wasn't advertised that way and they needed it, then we would still need to correct that, so.
I guess my thought on that is, just the main scoreboard in the stadium on the other end has got advertisement on it. As it exists today, it's got Pepsi and
You can see it from
several others, so are we opening a can of worms here that we may not?
Well, we should have had that variance the whole time.
Well, let us take a look at it, and we'll report back at the next meeting, and if all good with it, then I think it's right, I just want to make sure it's approved.
I mean, technically,
I think we could.
the press box has got
Because they didn't
advertisement.
need to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, what I hate to do is all of a sudden possibly set the precedence,
Absolutely, right.
and then all of a sudden I go, okay, I decide I want to put a billboard in my neighborhood, it's zoned R1.
Yeah.
Why can't I get the variance?
Yeah, no,
That's why I think it needs to go through the process.
Yeah, I agree, I'm just a little bit concerned because I know the press box and the current scoreboard already does, so.
let's re-ask this question.
Yeah.
The project that they want to do, which we all know what they want to do, you're okay with granting the appropriate variances to do it, it's just making sure we get all of them done. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, include all of these issues in that.
Yeah, just make sure, we'll check Jeff, make sure
Yeah,
it crosses all the lines.
We're good.
All right.
Dot that I.
Next, Village of Chatham sexual harassment policy.
6 and 7 are actually the same. If you want me to go through those real quickly.
Yes.
So, the State Employees and Officials Ethics Act was amended, and to provide for mandatory sexual harassment policies in the state, within the state government for lobbyists, and also for local government bodies. The provision regarding local government bodies requires us to have a policy that prohibits sexual harassment, presumably based on the definition as defined in that act. Define how somebody can report allegations of sexual harassment, including options for making confidential reports, prohibition on retaliation for reporting sexual harassment allegations, and also certain whistleblower protections and consequences for violating the policy and making a false report. So even though we have a sexual harassment policy, as most government bodies do, it doesn't fit exactly all of these separate pigeonholes. So this ordinance would enact a new sexual harassment policy that complies with the state law. This ordinance also updates our ethics procedures in the village code. It's kind of outlined within the ordinance. At some point, I think I have it in here somewhere, in the 90s, the village adopted some ethics provisions, and then in 91, they adopted some provisions. Then when the State Employees Officials Ethics Act came out in 2003, and we had to implement new provisions, those two sections of the code were never kind of rectified or consolidated. So what this ordinance would do would just go by what the state requires in terms of their Ethics Act, prohibited activities, that type of thing, and also then replaces the old Ethics Act with the new provision incorporating the policy on sexual harassment. Now, I know that's a lot. We don't have to adopt this month. You can do it in January too, so if you want some time to look at this, that's fine.
What was their, they had a 60-day clock.
January 15th is the end of that clock to have the sexual harassment policy adopted. The sexual harassment policy, Yeah, the sexual harassment policy, as you will see, also applies to the elected officials, which is kind of new. So you can't really discipline an elected official, but you can fine them. So this law allows you to be fined up to $5,000 per violation. So it has a little bit of teeth in there for, people who are not necessarily employees of the village. The ordinance puts those provisions in there as well. The basic reporting processes for somebody is, has a sexual harassment complaint, they would go to the village manager, but they could also go to a supervisor, they could go to the village president, they could go to the attorney, direct supervisor, whoever they feel most comfortable with. This policy just kind of sets those types of procedures up there, outlines all the different things that rights they've got under state law, that type of thing. So the biggest thing about this, beyond approving the sexual harassment policy, is this also does clean up the ethics provisions within our code. It does do away with the kind of, last year or the last couple of years, there were a couple of ethics complaints that were filed under that old version of the code. That would go away. Now everything would be regulated by that state ethics act, those provisions.
So if we need this passed by January, we need to accept this in a board meeting before January 12th?
January 15th. Yes, you could do it at your first meeting in January.
Okay.
Or you could do it at your second meeting in December. It depends on how much time you want to take a look at it. You want to bring it back for maybe action and consideration at the next meeting, that's fine too. Depends on how much you want to talk about it, look at it.
Just from my personal opinion, I want to look at it, but I can't imagine I wouldn't be ready to vote on it at our next meeting.
Yeah,
Honestly, I definitely want to look at it, but at the same time, it's state statute.
Right.
What do we, let's get it on the agenda.
I'm good for putting
meeting.
it on the next agenda.
Okay. Now, with our unions, we do have to make them aware of this policy, and they have an ability to bargain the impact, those types of things, so that's something that Pat will kind of take care of, but otherwise, it'll be implemented. So again, this is the state statutory requirements.
So the next meeting's the day
after Christmas.
Oh, so something like this, if we're all okay with it, you could put it on the consent agenda.
If you want.
You can make a motion to do that, and that makes it just quicker,
You would I think you direct Amy now to include it in the consent agenda.
Yeah.
If you need to pull it off for discussion.
Yeah, you can pull it off if people have problems with how they read it.
I guess my first red flag is what you just mentioned about the unions. Have we heard anything across the state? Because obviously this is something that every municipality is doing. So what are the unions doing in this? Are they kicking back on this? I haven't heard.
I don't know that they will, because it's a state.
Kind of a bad time to kick back on something like that.
It's a state mandated requirement, and I think probably a lot of, there are already a lot of sexual harassment policies within, those rules, so.
The only reason I bring it up is because if anybody's going to kick back on something, it's going to be the union.
Yeah.
Right?
And the way that I've drafted the policies are really more towards, for employees, it's more of a disciplinary thing. I don't think it makes much sense that we look to be fining, an employee for sexually harassing another employee. We're more gonna take disciplinary action against that employee, so.
And we're just
And that
following state law.
That follows through what's already agreed to.
And that'll be easy for you to present one, Pat.
So he'll just need to start having those discussions, and that type of thing.
We just recently got one on if a police officer is in an active shooting situation. The new state law requires that they're drug tested before they leave their shift. And that was just passed, so we've already put together a memorandum of understanding. We've had 2 meetings with the police union, and I think we're in an agreement on that, so we'll probably have that for you. So.
And because of the deadline, our thought process has been, let's go ahead and get these approved. If we have to come back, make changes, amendments, we can always do that. But
I would think the union's going to have something, if they're going to oppose anything or change, they're going to know already anyway, so.
Amy, could you put that on the consent agenda then for the next?
Yeah, me and Pat make the agenda, so we'll just move it to the consent. I'll write this in the minutes for that.
All right.
when we get to the schedule, do we want to look at moving that meeting? I'll throw that out there, just to
Yeah, the day after, well, yeah, we can talk about that.
talk about that.
Let's get through the rest of the minutes and then we'll...
Yeah.
We can
tell you where we're at.
Ordinance amending the village code provisions on alcoholic beverages regarding operating hours until 1 AM on Thanksgiving Day.
That was brought up to this last Thanksgiving. A couple establishments would like to be able to stay open an extra hour on Thanksgiving Eve, which would actually be Thanksgiving morning, 1 o'clock. We took care of that in our ordinance for New Year's Eve, when it doesn't fall on a weekend. But pretty much Thanksgiving Eve is always going to be on a Wednesday. So, I don't have a problem with it. The police department doesn't have a problem with it, but we do need to put it in our ordinances to allow them to stay open an additional hour.
Something that ever happens at night.
Yeah. Especially here.
We roll up the sidewalks in Chatham.
I'm okay with that.
But it is a rule.
Are you okay with that? Yeah, that's something I think would be easy. If we can look at it and move that to the consent agenda.
There you go, another one on the consent.
Write it down, put it on consent.
We can do it, but just remember, nothing good happens at
The next ordinance, number 9, is another one that's...
Permitting of firework displays?
We do not have the ability to have a permit in the village of Chatham for fireworks. The J.C.'s will come in and get, they'll shoot off fireworks. They'll notify us. We make sure that the person that's shooting off the license, that they work with our SEMA director, to put a plan together in case there's an accident, as well as the fire department and the police department. But we've recently had a couple fireworks displays at some of the worship centers. And I think it would make more sense if they came in and got a permit, make sure that they have professional shooting the fireworks off. And that way the police and everyone would know that something's going on at that time, so.
That's what reasonable.
Well, they need that, honestly, probably something we should have had in place.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And would that be cross-referenced with the fire department as well? Just so they're notified?
Fire chief has to sign off on it, the chief has to.
That was the only thing that I saw on there that I thought, so the fire chief has to sign off on that too.
So who
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Is the SEMA director kind of like the drug that, or does that go through?
In the past, when there's been events like that, he will work with the police and the fire department and our staff sometimes to put together kind of an emergency plan in case something goes wrong. So if they're going to do the same type of fireworks display, maybe 3-4 times a year, I think he could put one plan together and it could work for each of those different situations.
Okay.
But that's something that we'll have to address as we go through it. But the first thing we needed was the ability to give.
So to allow permitting or to require permitting?
Both, because before the code, I think, just prohibited fireworks.
All right. I'm okay with that.
So they come in and ask if we do this display. So, just a couple of things to highlight. The way this is set up is that the village manager would be authorized to issue no more than 4 firework permits per year.
Should that be per person or?
Well, that's up to the, I don't know how much you want fireworks going off all over the place.
You're gonna party, right?
The way this is written, you're gonna go, okay? The way this is written, the village manager's got authority to issue up to 4, and then the village board can approve beyond that. So
we could add additional.
Yeah, if you want to put that number at 5, if you want to put that number at 10, I just wasn't sure, if you wanted fireworks going off left or right, that type of, not that that's gonna happen.
That's use.
So I'm paying for the insurance. I'll go watch somebody else's.
So the other thing is there's also a fee, $50 permit fee, to help offset the cost of, what is now going to be some, work required on admin.
But that's something that,
Does one-
discretionary.
Does one person need more than, did they shoot them off more than once a year, right?
So, yes.
Yeah.
One thing you gotta keep in consideration also is people with mental illness, people with post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I would say sore.
Yeah, I know it was an issue.
Yes.
That,
This provides us more of a notification.
yeah.
Yes.
Of
A lot of
that.
people know, yeah.
Yeah, but that, I mean, that's a good point, is notification.
Fire, so it's not just me and Ryan showing up wanting to get fired.
Well, can't you say organization?
The,
Can't be an individual.
requirement,
I mean, the
requirement to be licensed, have somebody licensed.
Yeah, I just not doing, you don't call it, just gonna be able to get one of these permits, I don't think. You've gotta meet all the state.
Don't count us out.
Uh-oh, there is a display as soon as I leave.
Process that I do get, everyone's license is permitted to shoot off fireworks or explosives, so.
All right.
There is a process to go through. Yeah, so the only thing I would say about the fee is, want to set it more in terms of how much is the actual cost.
What it's costing,
Yeah.
so it's 50 reasonable to you, Pat, what you're gonna have to maybe do?
You know, it probably wouldn't be bad to put it at 100, because if the senior director's involved, and the chief's involved, and the fire chief's involved, and they're all looking at a plan.
That's all time.
Yeah, so we can change that to 100.
Yeah, I'd say move that to 100.
Then the other one thing,
What's the,
we have the time, 10 o'clock, only between 5:30 and 10. That doesn't work in the summer.
No.
Even when we do them for the village,
Change that to 11?
it's gotta be.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not starting till 9:15 in the evening.
yeah.
Mike,
That it's gotta start before.
to the chief's
Oh,
point,
then I can go on.
to the chief's point,
Combine that.
do we have in here, I looked at that, and like a process for notification of the community, so that,
We just have, no, we're just 30 days before the display is supposed to be applied for, so,
We could send that out on e-alerts, I mean, that's a good idea that you brought up, and
yeah, I think, so people are aware, if it, I mean, 4th of July, people know there's gonna be fireworks, but if it's some other time, that way, because that could,
August 20th is not really known for
Bastille Day, it's big in other countries, but not.
All right, so that,
Is this pressing or
we can,
bring this back to January?
yeah, bring that back in January. Yeah.
That has a fire district look at this as they would be one of the signatories.
They have not.
Okay, so I don't hurt to have them also look at it,
Yep.
in their opinion.
All right, before we go, we'll go back, circle back around to old business. Resolution approving an agreement with Sundown Lawn for the multimedia upgrades to the Village Hall boardroom. And we have somebody from Sundown Lawn here.
Hi.
Hello.
Very
patient.
I can answer any questions or anything like that you guys have, or I can just provide a generic walkthrough of what would happen in the upgrades that would occur. Without getting too techy, I don't want to put anybody to sleep, it's getting late.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Tyler, just show them what we talked about, what we
Place this time.
Of course. The main goal is providing, number one, an audio system that works, and with regard to the microphones. When they speak, everyone out here will be able to hear much better than currently, and also when you guys speak, they will be able to hear you much better. The goal is to make that process operate more efficiently, but also provide an automated system and a way to make everything turn on very easily and operate with simplicity, so that in the event that he's not here, somebody's sick, I don't know if you've looked up there, there's a lot going on to make this all work. So the idea would be get rid of a lot of this, make it all an automated process, so that way in the event of an emergency, you're asking a last minute meeting, there's just an easy button on the counter there that fires everything up. There'd be a camera installed in the rear of the room or up here, we haven't really discussed where that camera would go. It would turn on, it's got a pan tilt zoom feature, and the camera can even be programmed to turn and face a speaker, or to just stay on close up here. So you're gonna get a lot more features and usability. Currently, there's an auto mixer down here, but I don't think it's working.
We're gonna replace that with a DSP, which is a newer, more updated version of a mixer. Doesn't have any knobs or anything like that, it's all programmed ahead of time to provide the same quality and usability and functionality every time you use it. Update the projector with something that's going to be much clearer and much brighter, especially when watching digital documents, looking at digital documents like spreadsheets, PDFs, maps, GIS information, so on and so forth. The screen would still stay the way that it is. The biggest change is going to be the microphones. Currently, these are a boundary style microphone, which can sometimes be convenient, but also they're not the most reliable. Those will be replaced with a 10 gooseneck microphones that will actually come up. They'll be right in front of the board faces, and they will pick up clear, easily reproduced audio, so that way everyone can hear. But then also be picked up by camera and broadcasted to people who can't make the meeting. The goal is that way people don't have to be using their phones to record and things like that, that you could have an easy, accessible live feed of the meeting on Facebook or YouTube or whatever service you guys would like to use. So that way, like I say, you guys could follow along and stay informed, but not actually have to be in the building unless you have questions or comments or concerns.
Is there any way to make the video so it's not editable?
Yeah, so this would be a live feed, and it could have a watermark if you wanted to. I've never really had that request before, to be honest, but I'm sure that we could do that. Basically, it's a permanently installed live feed PTZ camera. It's very big, it's noticeable, you'll see it in the room, you'll see when it's turned on, and it will be automated with the system. So what that means is when the system turns on, that camera turns on. And when the system's turned off, that camera turns off. So it's not necessarily a surveillance system by any means, but if you guys were using the audio system or the projector, so on and so forth, that camera would turn on.
Well, I just want to question why you don't have the problem that they had down at the interrogation room with the camera on all the time.
I guess I would not, yeah, no.
I guess that would be one of the questions I would have. You indicate when you hit the system, and hopefully there's a couple other buttons, so if you need to turn something off. Let's hope the police is having training in here that they really don't want anyone else to know.
They can turn the camera off.
They can turn the camera off, turn off the sound, just use the projector. Okay.
So basically, the system is going to be installed by a manufacturer called Extron. It's commonly used in higher learning settings, hospitals, things like that, where you have a large amount of people that have access to the room. The buttons are engraved, and I don't know if I can say this, it's idiot-proof. If you want to do something, you push the button, and those things turn on and they turn off. You can't go in and access other deeper, more serious settings. It's only designed to give you functionality, turn certain things off, turn certain things on. Very simple.
If they do trainings, they can just bring a USB in?
Oh yeah, there'll still be a local input here that you can plug in an external computer or a flash drive or whatever. Okay. You saw that accessibility. The Extron system just makes it very simple to switch over those different sources.
So if we had a WebEx type system, and Vern and his officers wanted to have a meeting with a neighboring town, they could through that?
Yeah, I'd like to get more details on that. That's not something we discussed previously.
Right.
I definitely don't want to answer that question definitively 100%. Video conferencing is a very complex beast, and it can be very expensive.
Right.
So, will you have the infrastructure in place to do that? Yes.
Okay.
But there are a lot of variables, like what kind of system is the other county using?
Sure.
I'd want to discuss that a little more.
Right.
But the short answer to that is, I don't predict that it would be a problem. I'm sure we could interface with that.
The simple setup up here, is it one of those where I've been, in the conference room setup, is it like an iPad with just the...
Nope, I like even one step simpler to an iPad. It'll actually be a box, and it will say Extron on it. It'll have 6 hard buttons, 5 to 6, and you will turn the system on, you'll turn the system off. You'll have the ability to select inputs, and then that's it. So, I'll be honest, for right around the same amount of money, we could go that route. But even with those iPads, sometimes those can be pretty complex to use as well. And I really wanted this to be a system that anyone could come in and turn the system on.
Whatever way it's important. Because I think the main thing that it'll be utilized for, not just this, it'll be training.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Vern's group can use it and Pat can use it for training.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's where the value really adds. I mean, you got,
basically, for example, if a third party, or the police guys, they came in and they just wanted to use their own equipment, there will be a button on the system that says external source, and then you'll have a few options. You push that external source button and you plug it, and that's it. And then you would just move through your presentation on the computer.
Wow.
So it's a really nice system. It's used in almost every higher learning, community college to, very advanced schools, because any professor, any student, anyone can walk into that room and use the system. So it's a tried and true method.
do you have like examples of ones that you installed in the area?
I mean, we put in a lot of automation systems. The thing with automation systems is there aren't really two alike. Every customer has their own set of needs. I don't have an Extron system locally that would operate just like yours, but I could show you some very similar. I mean, University of Illinois has a ton of them. They were just put in by other people, but it would be very, very similar to how this system works.
Yeah, let me back up to what you asked about being able to communicate with another community. What we've got here is the framework of something to answer, and I'll step in and answer that. The answer to that question is no, because we don't have a huge component that would make that work, and that's a video codec. We don't want to spend the money on that unless we know we have a need for it, and I don't think we do at this point. So, but at some point, if we chose that we wanted to go down that road to add in something like that, absolutely, we'll have all the pieces there to do it.
Yeah, that's the truth. But I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Video conferencing is the most expensive and complex aspects of audio-visual integration. It's crazy.
So when you brought up Google Chat, right? So that's a little bit different. That's PC based. So could you do something like that with the system?
It would be the same thing.
As long as it's correct. As long as it's computer to computer, that's fine. But when you start going outside, it changes your whole dynamic. So it gets very complicated.
What about the trustees that have to call in on the phone?
Google Chat.
What about
that actually would be much simpler now. I would recommend it. I don't know how you guys are doing that fast.
Well, sometimes we use a cell phone and set it right next to it. We do have a conference phone, and sometimes we'll bring that.
I would recommend that you would do that all over IP. So you use like Cisco Jabber or Skype would work, or Google Chat. I mean, one of the web-based Jabber.
So could it go through here, because we have an issue sometimes where there's a little lag of whoever's on the phone's not hearing the conversation. And would their voice then project through that speaker system?
Yeah, so the microphones will pick up and reproduce the sound that you guys are saying, and that would feed into the system that's going out, and then the input would be from your external communicator, and that would play through your speakers as well, because it's coming from a computer that's wired through the system.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah. That would be huge for that purpose.
Now, with the audio,
I've never missed a meeting, so.
I know sometimes there's the issue of multiple people speaking at once. How does it, does it pick it all up and it's still a big block?
Yeah, so,
or is it something that, depending on level of voice, or who's talking first, or exactly how does the audio work?
So, are we familiar with the old-fashioned way to do this, like the way you guys have it now? There's a mixer, and that mixer is set to preset levels. So if there was sound that was happening between my hands, it would pick those sounds up. A DSP, which is a digital sound processor, has a computer built into it. And I can go in, well, I won't, someone else will, someone will go and program it. We'll go in and program that DSP to behave in the way that we tell it to. We're going to program it to eliminate feedback. We're going to program it to sound the best for this room when you guys are using it. So if you're all talking at the same time, it will adjust itself in real time to make those changes. Now, at the end of the day, it's still hard to hear two people talk at the same time. It doesn't matter how loud I make it, it's still hard to understand. There's no technology in the world that can fix that problem. What I will tell you is that it will make the sounds that are coming out of your mouths louder and more clear for everyone to hear.
How does it deal with vibrations? Let's say a trustee bangs on the table.
Well, you're currently using boundary mics, which are sitting on the table. They're attached to the surface that you're beating, so it's why they are not very useful. The gooseneck microphones actually go into a shock-absorbing, it's like a shock mount. So that's one way that will make a big difference. The second way is that now the microphone, rather than being down here, is up here. So it's not going to pick up the pen taps or whatever you guys do back there that annoy people. You're not going to worry about that as much. It still might pick up a little bit, but we're talking about completely evolving as far as the microphone technology.
Now, the other thing, and I don't think I've ever seen them used, but we do have some personal hearing devices behind you. Should I assume that's something?
Those will still integrate, just okay. Something else that we're going to do, rather than put boundary microphones up here, so that way when the audience comes up to participate, there will be a handheld wireless microphone that...
Oh, I didn't want you to tell her that.
Is there a delete button?
Actually, no. But, I mean, they took my phone from me. Rather than having,
That could be considered theft.
rather than having a congestion of folks up in front here, that microphone would just be passed out throughout the audience, and they could voice their concerns, and then you could answer. It's got a very reliable range. Someone in the back of the room could very clearly heard.
So you have the ones that will be kind of prominent, and then a handheld one. Could you have one that could be like set, like say on the podium? So they don't have to hold it if they want to.
One probably could be, right?
I mean, we could put a microphone holder on that if you want to.
That way, if someone's lifting from there.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, it would just be no different than at a concert when the person takes the microphone from the stand and removes it.
Yeah.
You would just put it in,
Have a placement.
put it on the lectern if that's your choice, or just hold it to your mouth.
I do like to talk with my hands.
There you go.
Trying to help you out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public comments on village business, I got Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was I going to say? Don't sleep there, sorry. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think we're good.
I do have one question. Hey, I know I sent you something the other day. I know there was an issue of not getting the alerts out, but now I know the last alert I got, which I'm assuming was a factual one, I think I got 26 of them within 2 or 3 seconds.
You fell asleep on the keyboard.
I got a test today. Did you get one today?
Was everything good on the test today?
I got one today.
And it was right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we have it fixed.
Okay.
I didn't get one.
We only sent it to 100 people, and they were all AT&T, so we selected 100 AT&T, because that was the one we were having problems with. We figured if it was gonna bomb, it would bomb on that. And it worked on mine, and worked on yours, so I think tomorrow we'll send out a test for the whole thing.
Yeah, I did just get one, not 7. Like I've been giving one, so it was just one.
Just one where you're gonna say, please call us if you got this.
No.
All right, schedule of meetings, December 19th, ADA Transition Plan Committee, 6 p.m. December 21st, Planning Commission, 6 p.m. December 26th, Village Board, 6 p.m. Yes, Mr. Shershel?
Do we want to move that?
We have, where we built a the agenda is a consent agenda. Pat needs us to approve warrants at a minimum, somewhere near along that. So we have, everything from tonight is on the consent agenda.
It'd be quick.
So if,
I could call it, but I have to, everybody's off because, you know, I really would.
You have to have a quorum physically present.
we have 4 here, so who can be here on the?
I should be here.
1, 2,
Should be.
I was gonna be out of town, but I can have a deputy come in.
do I count for a quorum? I'll be here. We'll have a quorum.
So I can call it.
Yeah, if you can call me and then we'll have,
So,
So it'll be brief, but if you can make it for 5 minutes.
I don't know if I'll be in town, so.
But we, like I said, we've got, there will be a quorum here to be able to pass that consent agenda. That gets the bill paid out.
Do you feel like you'll need an attorney present for that meeting?
Overtime or something?
I can always call him too if you want. That's
We can do a group chat.
That's what I would say. If for any reason something comes up that would rise to the level of needing to be passed, not through, we haven't already discussed about, then I'll call a special meeting later.
the one thing that does need to be passed, that should be on there, is our meeting dates.
And,
Okay, and we'll have that on the consent agenda also. So that'll set our meetings for next year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for all of 2018. For all of 2018.
Yes.
So I have for the next meeting on the consent agenda that we're going to put on is the warrants, the minutes, the meeting times, and then I have the sexual harassment.
And
the
alcohol of the Thanksgiving.
Yes, both of those.
Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yep.
We made sure that it's on there for the dog.
Oh, also, there's an ordinance that allows us to sell the dog.
Yeah, it's just a formality in terms of making sure that ownership is with for $1.
Yes.
I'll pay the $1. I will. There you go. I'll pay the $1 for that officer to keep his dog.
So what I would like to do is put that meeting together tomorrow and put it on Word docs and draft. I'll list all the stuff that we're gonna put on the consent agenda. If you guys can think of anything else for the remainder of this week that you need added to it, I'll put it on there. Then I would like to post it to the public so the public can see what you're proposing to vote on all at one time, so that it'll be out there for a whole week instead of just a couple days before.
Yes.
All right?
All right, January 8th, Public Properties and Recreation Commission meeting. 6, January 8th, Utility Oversight Committee meeting, 7:30. January 9th, Village Board, 6 PM. January 9th, Committee of the Whole, 6:15. No need for a closed session, correct?
Could I ask one clarification on that? Were you going to have the utility oversight? Because I couldn't understand what you were saying, you're going to suspend it or have it next meeting.
We'll have it, we're gonna get some requests to Pat to get to Lee, and we'll have it. Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mann and Trustee Lindhorst, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Just so you're clear, I have some documents with me. Taking these home, I'm gonna put that